Welcome back to HistoryCrafts. Not all kings were born in the countries they ruled. In fact, many monarchs throughout European history came from foreign lands, but few stories are as remarkable as that of Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, a French soldier who marched with Napoleon and ended up ruling Scandinavia. Today we are exploring the rise of the man who became King Karl XIV Johan of Sweden and Norway. Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte was born on January 26 in 1763 in the town of Pau in southern France. He came from a modest background. His father was a local prosecutor. At just 17 he joined the French Royal Army. What he lacked in noble blood, he made up with disciplined charisma and his determination. As the French Revolution erupted, Bernadotte climbed the military ranks quickly, aided by the revolution's willingness to promote talent over birthright. By 1794, he was already a general, and in the following years, Bernadotte took part in numerous key campaigns of the Revolutionary Wars. He served under General Jourdan and later commanded his own corps. In 1797, he captured the Austrian city of Mainz and was briefly appointed as the French ambassador to Austria. However, his diplomatic posting ended abruptly, after an incident involving him displaying the French revolutionary tricolor flag above the embassy in Vienna, which provoked, of course, hostility from Austrian citizens. The flag symbolized revolutionary France, which was deeply unpopular in conservative and monarchist Austria. A mob formed and Bernadotte was forced to leave the post soon after. In 1799, Bernadotte was appointed Minister of War under the French Directory. Although his term lasted only a few months, it highlighted his growing political influence. That same year, he helped suppress royalist uprisings and worked closely with prominent generals such as Jean-Marie Moreau and André Massena. Bernadotte played a significant role in the Battle of the Trebia in 1799, although he arrived too late to change its outcome. He was later involved in the Battle of Hohenlinden in 1800, one of the major French victories over Austria, where his logistical planning supported General Moreau's decisive success. Bernadotte also had frequent interactions with key figures of the Revolutionary and Napoleonic era. He earned both the admiration and suspicion of Napoleon, maintained alliances with Republican generals, and corresponded with political leaders all across Europe. When Napoleon returned from his Egypt campaign and seized power later that year, Bernadotte kept a cautious distance to him, but did not oppose Napoleon openly. He remained a key general through the Marengo campaign and was known for balancing his republican values with military loyalty. In 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of France and named Bernadotte one of his marshals, the highest military rank in the empire. But the relationship was complex. While Bernadotte served Napoleon loyally, he often disagreed with his methods. One famous moment came in 1806 during the War of the Fourth Coalition, when Bernadotte failed to support Marshal Davout at the Battle of Auerstadt. Davout's corps, heavily outnumbered, managed to win a stunning victory against the Prussians without Bernadotte's assistance. Napoleon was furious at Bernadotte's absence and scolded him, sparking lasting tensions between the two. Still, Bernadotte held key commands in campaigns across Central Europe and was rewarded with the title Prince of Pontecorvo, a small principality in southern Italy. The principality, carved from papal lands, granted him semi-sovereign status and his own miniature court. And there's even a fun fact. Despite their disagreements, Napoleon once considered Bernadotte a possible heir if he had no sons. That was partly because of Bernadotte's popularity within the army, his proven leadership, and also his marriage into the Bonaparte family through his wife's connection to Désirée Clary, Napoleon's former fiancée. In a surprising twist, Bernadotte's destiny took a royal turn. In 1810, Sweden needed a new crown prince. Struggling to maintain power and wary of Napoleon, the Swedes looked for a strong military leader who could navigate European politics, and they turned to Bernadotte. You maybe wonder, why him? For one reason, he had shown notable kindness to Swedish prisoners during earlier campaigns, gaining goodwill among both Swedish officers and also the public. He also had strong military credentials, international recognition, and was seen as a potential stabilizing figure in the power vacuum following the loss of Finland to Russia. But crucially, Bernadotte was supported by influential Swedish political figures and military officers, most notably Count Carl Otto Mörner, a Swedish officer who traveled to Paris and played a key role in proposing Bernadotte's candidacy. Despite the Swedish government's initial hesitation, Mörner's bold endorsement helped push the decision through. Bernadotte also had the approval of Napoleon, which made his election more palatable in the eyes of the great powers. Interestingly, Bernadotte had no dynastic connection to the Swedish royal family. His selection was purely political and strategic, a rare occurrence even by European standards. Sweden had never before nor since chosen a completely foreign commoner without royal blood to ascend the throne. His election marked a unique moment in the nation's history and symbolized Sweden's desire for a fresh start in a changing Europe. He swore allegiance to the Lutheran faith as required by the Swedish constitution and took the name Karl Johan. He never formally renounced his Catholicism, which made him a unique exception in Swedish royal history. Bernadotte adopted Swedish culture while also bringing fresh energy to the royal court. For example, he learned the language, engaged directly with the Riksdag, the Swedish parliament, and implemented reforms that modernized the royal administration. Now, Crown Prince of Sweden, Carl or Charles, faced a dilemma: stay loyal to Napoleon or act in Sweden's best interest. By 1812, he made a bold move. He broke with Napoleon and joined the Sixth Coalition, Britain, Russia, Prussia, and others, against the French Empire. He led the Swedish forces in the famous Battle of Leipzig in 1813, also known as the Battle of Nations. While Sweden's battlefield role was limited, Charles' diplomatic skill and strategic maneuvers were crucial to the coalition's coordination and final success. It was also a turning point in the Napoleonic Wars. For his role, Charles John was rewarded in 1814, when Sweden was allowed to take control of Norway, which had been ruled by Denmark. This formed the Union of Sweden and Norway, two nations with one king, but separate governments. In 1818, Charles John officially became King Charles XIV John of Sweden and Karl III Johan of Norway. His reign lasted until 1844, 26 years of relative peace and stability. As king, he focused on economic development, infrastructure, and neutrality in European conflicts. He built roads and canals, improved education, and worked to modernize the state. However, his reign wasn't without issues. In 1829, Norwegian citizens clashed with troops during the banned Constitution Day celebrations in Kristiania, which is modern-day Oslo. He eventually allowed Norwegians to celebrate their constitution, helping calm rising tensions. And another interesting fact, though he started as a French revolutionary, Charles became one of Europe's most conservative monarchs. He upheld strict royal authority, resisted liberal reforms, and maintained tight control over political expression in both Sweden and Norway, which is kind of paradox if you ask me. Karl XIV Johan died in 1844. He was succeeded by his son Oscar I and began a dynasty, the House of Bernadotte, the house that still reigns in Sweden today. That's right, the current king of Sweden, Carl XVI Gustav, is a direct descendant of a French commoner. Statues of Charles still stand proudly in both Stockholm and Oslo, honoring the monarch who united two nations. Bernadotte's life was a rare case of a commoner rising to being a king. And that's a little bit like Napoleon, right? He who also rose from a minor Corsican noble to Emperor of France. But unlike Napoleon, Bernadotte ended his career as a peacemaker and king, not as a fallen conqueror. He changed European history, not through conquest, but through clever political adaptation. From battlefields of revolutionary France to the thrones of Scandinavia, Charles XIV's life is proof that history is full of surprises. A revolutionary soldier turned royal peacemaker. What do you think about Karl Johan? And have you ever heard about the story? Because I was pretty surprised when I heard that the Swedish king's family is actually coming from France. Maybe there was a plot all along, huh? I hope you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something new. If you haven't had enough history for today, you can also check out these videos I made in the past. About what other historical figure or topic would you like to know more about? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to support the channel, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, this is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.